The third thing that we can do in terms of incorporating more play is to improvise, which essentially is what play is all about. It's all about improvisation. Very rarely is play ever rehearsed, right? You're kind of just being in the moment and being very spontaneous. And your ability to improvise stems from an innate expression of what you already know, much like with flow. Similarly to when we engage in a conversation with a friend, which is often unrehearsed, your ability to engage in conversation comes from your understanding of language. Because you can't have a conversation if you don't understand language. So I want you to consider movement like a language, and if movement is language, then improvisation would be conversation. When you're born and you first learn to speak, you learn through isolation, learning your ABCs, for example. Then you learn to string those letters together into words. And then those words become sentences, and then those sentences become a conversation. When it comes to movement and flow, improvisation works the same way. This image here is a model and concept taken from Ido Portal, who says that improvisation is broken into 3 parts. You have isolation, where you work on a single movement until you can do it intuitively. Then you move on to the next move and repeat this process over and over again. Next is integration, where you take the individual moves you've mastered and you start to put them together into a choreographed sequence. And then finally we have improvisation, where you start to improvise movements in a random order. Improvisation when it comes to movement can be extended further into a closed system and open system format. The closed system and open system is also a concept taken from Ido Portal and as a thermodynamic metaphor that is used as an approach to improvisation. A closed system flow means no energy within the system can flow out and nothing outside of the system can flow in. So imagine if I put a bunch of different colored marbles into a sealed container. Marbles already in there can move around within the box, but nothing can come out, and because I've sealed the box, nothing can go in. The marbles inside represent the isolated movements that you've been working on. Putting them into a box is an example of integrating them into your flow. In other words, your flow is limited to a select few movements that you'll rehearse in a structured format. In a closed system flow, you can improvise the order of the movements, but the movements themselves generally stay the same. Now, an open system flow means energy can flow in and out easily. Now, using the same example, imagine if I put colored marbles into an open container. The marbles inside can come out easily, and new items can also be placed in randomly. There is no specific order or sequence. It's random and sometimes messy, but it's free. This method is used once you've mastered the basics and can move more intuitively within your flows. You ideally want to be able to flow without thinking about your next movement, learning to feel the flow rather than thinking your way through it. In the beginning of your movement practice, you're going to do a lot of thinking. In fact, you're going to do a lot of overthinking and overanalyzing every little detail, and you're going to be somewhat self-conscious about the way that you move or the way something appears to be. But with practice, you'll start to get a better sense of the feeling and the sensation that you should be experiencing throughout your movement. Things will start to kind of flow, for lack of a better word, more naturally as you start to progress with your training. But the key is to be consistent. And as Bruce Lee said, don't think, feel.